Today on the Star Wars Show, Anthony gets his hands on Star Wars Squadrons. Andi chats with filmmaker Justin Simien. Matt Lieb puts on a summer convention at home, and much, much more.
Hello and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the only Star Wars show that can confidently claim it lost to Jeopardy at the Emmys.
You need to say your opening line in the form of a question.
You're right, sorry. What is the only Star Wars show that lost an Emmy to Jeopardy?
Much better. Trebek smiles brightly upon you.
Anyway, how you doing, Andi? Things good?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, still at home, but hanging with my dude and my animals. Though I will say it's kind of weird to not be traveling a bunch for conventions this summer.
Same, but lucky for us, when it comes to bringing the summer convention experience home, you can count on Star Wars show correspondent Matt Lieb to deliver in this segment brought to you by our friends at Geico. Check it out.
Can I go?
No, you can't go, Secret Kylo.
I never get anything I want.
Yeah, I know. It's a big theme with you.
Hey guys, Matt Lieb here. The summer convention season is all but postponed, but you can count on the Star Wars Show to show you how to have the perfect summer convention without leaving your home. If there's one thing every good summer convention has, it's cosplay. And not just off-the-shelf cosplay, we're talking super obscure character cosplay. But Matt, I don't have a costume, nor do I have any people to take pictures of me in said costume. What am I about to do? No problem. First, find something obscure to prove that you've watched Star Wars to the point of memory. I chose the CG rocks from the 2011 re-release version of A New Hope. Then find a piece of cardboard. Next, cut a hole for your face. My face is that big. Perfect! Now it's time to make some rocks. Crumple up some paper bags. And then tape them like so. Great! And now that we have the perfect convention look, it's time to take photos. Alright, now set up your laptop or camera to take pictures every 10 seconds to recreate the feeling of being on the convention floor and having people ask to take pictures with you. Next up, it's time to go to a panel. But Matt, how do we go to a panel if there's no convention? Imagination, my friend. First, you'll need publicity photos of your favorite Star Wars actors and an internet celebrity as a convention panel moderator. I chose the cast of The Mandalorian to talk about the upcoming Season 2 in a fun-filled panel hosted by the Star Wars show's Andi Gutierrez.
Hey guys, it's me, Andi Gutierrez. My first question is for the child. Did you learn anything about your character this season? So what can you tell us about Season 2? It's okay, you can talk. Feel free. We're all friends here. Thank you so much, the cast of The Mandalorian, and I'm so excited to see Season 2 premiering exclusively on Disney Plus this fall.
And what trip to a convention would be complete without waiting in a long line for exclusive merchandise? This year's At Home Con has the most exclusive merch of all, a chrome-covered variant of the wooden spoon Wilford Brimley used in Battle for Endor. Now all I gotta do is stand in line in my hallway and slowly inch my way towards the kitchen to buy it. Thankfully, I have these headphones playing a 10-hour loop of ambient crowd noise so I can replicate what it's like to walk through the convention hall. Here we go! Well guys, we did it. We successfully recreated the summer convention season from home. Man, I am so excited about all the swag that I got, but I'm gonna need to take a nap after all this hanging out with no one. So, until next time, may the Force be with you.
Move along.
Who knew that Wilford Brimley would be getting his own Star Wars branded accessory? We truly live in a magical timeline.
Now, if we could only get some teak merch, everything would be right with the galaxy. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of right with the galaxy, EA recently announced the new game Star Wars Squadrons, and wouldn't you know it, they sent me an early preview of the game to play around with.
Sounds fun.
Oh, it was.
I didn't get to play.
They didn't send it to you. So I was told to head to my P.O. box because something important was waiting for me. Here we go. I can't believe Lucasfilm actually sent me the Ark of the Covenant. How exciting. Let's open this bad boy up. Oh, I'm playing Star Wars Squadrons, y'all. I have now played a lot of Star Wars Squadrons, and if you're wondering what Star Wars Squadrons is, it is EA Motive's upcoming, entirely space combat-focused Star Wars game. It's all ships all the time. They're on me! Let me just start right out the gate. Number one, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous. It just has a really wonderful sense of design and a uniqueness to it right out of the gate from the very opening sequence.
You thought I wasn't gonna show up.
And then number two, it walks this incredible line between being a very technical flying game and a very arcade-like combat game. There's gonna be stuff in there for people who like really crunchy flight simulation style stuff, but you're also going to be able to pick it up and just play it if you're somebody who likes action games. I decided to play a little bit of the campaign first. You create two different pilots. You create one on the Imperial side and one on the New Republic side. That is because the campaign bounces you back and forth between these two characters as it's telling the story. And I don't want to get too much into the story. I can tell you that this is set after Return of the Jedi, and you start off in the Imperial fleet, and within that first 10 minutes, you get so many wonderful Star Wars moments. There are 4 ships for each faction. They are an all-round fighter, an interceptor, a bomber, and a support ship. But what I love is, just because your TIE fighter and your X-Wing are your fighters, they're the same class of ship, doesn't mean they handle identically at all. As a matter of fact, they handle exactly the way you would expect. I expect a TIE fighter to fly in smooth curves and it's gonna be fierce, and that's how it felt. But then you jump into the X-Wing and you feel that sort of like rust bucket charm that you expect to feel in it, right? Like it kind of pulls against you a little more. Oh, it's so good. Every ship has its own character, and you can customize your ships. You've got paint jobs, you've got decals, you can jump into your cockpit and then customize the little things that you keep in your cockpit. These are just like little personal items that your pilot has, and I love them. There was such a huge variety of them. All of these little things are things that you earn through wins and points and things like that within the game. None of this stuff is microtransaction stuff, which I really liked. But the big mode, like this is the thing you want, is the fleet battle. Fleet battle is not just 5-on-5. You've got your 5, and then you have an entire AI-controlled fleet behind you, and you are trying to take out their entire fleet. And it is everything I wanted out of a major space battle in a Star Wars game. I really, really loved it so much. I only tried the smallest bit of this game, and I am very excited to see more from Star Wars Squadrons, and I'm sure we will as we head towards its October 2nd release date. But for now, let's check out Andy's interview with filmmaker Justin Simien.
We are here with Justin Simien, the creator of Dear White People, massive movie geek and Star Wars geek. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here.
I want to talk about your relationship with Star Wars because it's very apparent through your work.
When I was a kid, Star Trek was the thing that was on TV. Like I had access to Star Trek. First of all, when you're black and in the South, like you really have to do these things very much undercover and very discreetly. You know, nobody had any sort of patience for a black nerd, let alone a black gay nerd. My God. So my way into like science fiction fantasy was Star Trek and the X-Men. These are things that are airing on TV when I'm growing up. And Star Wars was one of those things that like I would watch, but I had no cultural like context for. And it really wasn't until the re-release in theaters that I went back and I got really, really into Star Wars, because it had everything that I loved at that time, which is it had a story world that if you watch one thing, you're only getting like a glimpse of it. There's so much more to like find out about these characters and the universe that they inhabit. It was world building. You know, George Lucas was creating a whole new world, and one of the most exciting things about the world is that the most interesting parts of it are off screen and are talked about, or are the stuff of legend, or, you know, are in a system somewhere over here, or, you know, like the Clone Wars, like, you know, before there was a Clone Wars series, like that stuff was like catnip to me. And then after film school, trying to get my movie made, that's when I discovered Empire of Dreams. And I'm not kidding. I watched this documentary almost every day for a couple years there while I was trying to figure out how to make Dear White People into a movie. Like I needed to go to, you know, some source of inspiration and feeling that I could do it as often as I could. And Star Wars was one of those things. And I just marveled at the way an entire universe and paradigm could exist within this, you know, at the time, weird little science fiction puppet movie thing. Star Wars is incredibly sophisticated and complicated stuff for something that really, I think, works the minute you see it. Like as a kid, it works. It just impacts. And that's a pretty remarkable thing. In this universal story that cultures all over the world and people of all ages can connect to, is actually this very sophisticated series of arguments about the human condition. I mean, that's the kind of thing we all hope to do, I think. At least that's what I always hope to do with my work.
I want to talk about your journey to getting Dear White People made, because it's really interesting. You were working in marketing in the studios, and you actually crowdfunded Dear White People movie, and it went off to Sundance and won awards and everything. And that's a really unique path. And I'd like to hear kind of about your perspective on making that transition.
Sure, yeah. I knew immediately that I had something that I wanted to see and that people like me wanted to see. I had been working on the script for Dear White People for 8 years or so by the time I arrived in 2013. And I basically started a Twitter account to test out the voice of Samantha White, who had this radio show called Dear White People. I recognized that I had a script that I thought was working, and it was working in that kind of Robert Altman, Spike Lee kind of way, but nobody in the industry was checking for that in 2013. A version of black movies meant we need a comedian in a dress, or it has to be like broadly funny, or it's got to be like Tyler Perry or Ice Cube. Like that was it. And so I made this concept trailer just to show people what it would be like if we had a movie like this, because I'm recalling, like, you know, the black art house movies of the late 80s, the early 90s. And I wanted to tap into that feeling that I knew a lot of us had, which is like, why don't we getting this kind of thing in the movies right now, but about the modern black experience of being black around mostly white people? That's what a lot of us, you know, have to experience at some point in our lives.
2013 wasn't that long ago. And the fact that that story is so true and so lived by so many people, and yet it wasn't being put on the screen. Do you think that since then, the issue with representation in the film industry, both as on screen and behind the camera, do you think that that has gotten better?
Marginally, yeah, marginally. I think that, like, since Dear White People, and I'm not saying it's because of Dear White People, sometimes these things just sort of happen collectively. But I will say, since Dear White People, the sort of like ensemble, articulate black millennial group of people among a bunch of white people, like, is a thing you see everywhere now. That's a popular format when it comes to black dramedy. And it's nice to see that. It is also like frustrating. You know, it's like we just found out that we had like a 600% uptick in viewership on the show, seemingly as a response to the protests around George Floyd. And that is wonderful. It's great to feel like I made something that can speak to the current cultural moment, but it's also frustrating because when I made it, when it was coming out, there were plenty of people who were like, well, we don't need this anymore. Racism is over. You know, you're just bringing up old points to be upset. There was all of this sort of unnecessary backlash. We had to kind of scream at the wall for a few years before the sort of surge in viewership.
Watching Dear White People was like, all right, cool. Well, where are the parallels here? And there actually are a decent amount of parallels between the story that Sam and her crew go through and the story of Star Wars. But I think the biggest thing, the most obvious, is the theme of rebellion and having to fight a system that is kind of all around you. Some people don't necessarily think is oppressive, and doing the right thing and having to like put yourself out there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Star Wars really does like kind of concretize the idea of rebellion. And what I love about it is that it's also timeless. There is something very familiar that comes up in Star Wars about the present day that doesn't really have to be explained to you. You understand why a big oppressive system needs to be rebelled against without anyone sort of being political about it. it. You just get it. Luke wants to be a part of the rebellion. Of course he does. And of course we do, because we identify with Luke. And the Empire was responsible for shooting these tiny little ships out of the sky. I mean, you just jump on board with it. And so the way, like, you know, at that time, most movies were tackling, like, you know, wars and anti-communism and anti-fascism are very, like, heady and political. And I love those kind of movies too. But Star Wars just kind of cut right to the heart of it. And that's what we try to do on the show. The show is very topical, it's very wordy. There's lots of people talking all the time with all kind of stuff on their mind. But even if you watched it in mute, you kind of have a sense of where everyone was at and what side they were on. You know, there is a kind of like caveman logic to how to present systems of rebellion in groups of people, because yes, the show is talky, but I don't want that to get in the way of anyone's experience of the show. I want you to be able to identify with the characters first and foremost and be able to see yourself in them and realize that in their shoes, you might do the same thing.
So there were other couple nods to Star Wars that I'd picked up on. One was the little flash of Rebel pilot art in Lionel's room.
Well, he's a big nerd.
He's a big nerd.
And he's a bit of a cipher for me.
That's where I was going to ask if you saw yourself kind of manifest through him, who gets kind of pulled into the rebellion in a way, kind of like Luke, who was unsuspecting, totally going about his life, and then this event happened where he injected himself into the forefront of it and really made a difference.
Yeah, and that's intentional. It's an ensemble piece. And in an ensemble piece, one of the things that keeps coming up again when I research how to write these things is using archetypes to help people immediately understand who a character is when they appear. That is something that I absolutely, you know, got from Star Wars. And in particular, Lionel is a character called the Naif. It's a very old word that describes a character who is on the fence throughout the story and who feels finally that they have to choose a side. The events of the story forces them to pick a side. And then around the Naif, you have people who are rebels, and then you have people who are company men, who are like part of the system, even though they have a heart of gold. And that's someone like a Troy. On the other side is the rebel of Sam. And so I actually use some of that archetypal storytelling techniques to sort of present a very complicated world in a way that hopefully an audience would immediately be able to connect to it without needing to know all of the logistics of it and every single bit about how it operates and what every slang word means, you know.
So I just want you to confirm a few things for me then. Silvio is Count Dooku.
Obviously.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Because I was like sitting there, I was like,
he has a Palpatine energy too.
I said Palpatine at first, but my husband was like, no, he's Dooku. He's the one that's going behind the people who think that he's their friend.
It's true. It's not wrong. You're not wrong.
And Sorbet is Yoda.
Obviously. Thank you.
So you have another amazing cast member who is near and dear to the Star Wars family. You work with Giancarlo Esposito. He's the narrator of the series, and you bring him into the show in the flesh on screen in season 3. He's amazing, and I love him. I've never met him, and tell me about working with him.
He's everything you want him to be. Truly. He is the nicest guy. He brings a real intelligence to his work. He is a fan, so he appreciates the work, and we can have really cool conversations about the work. And when it's time to like be on screen or to give the VO, like it's always a masterclass. It's like every take is filled with something else you can use and combine to make something wonderful. I can't even speak highly enough about him. It was everything I hoped it would be.
Justin, let's talk a little bit about Bad Hair, your new movie that's coming out on Hulu soon.
Yeah, so it was independently made, actually by the same financier that did Dear White People. Her name is Julie Lebdev, and she had seen a Korean horror movie called The Wig. And there's actually a whole bunch of movies from the Asian horror market about hair and then involving hair as a horror element. It was funny to me, and I was like, oh, what if there was an American version? And we just kind of joked about it. And I also thought I could say something about the Black American experience specifically through hair. I wanted to do that, and I wanted to point out how hair becomes this mechanism of white supremacy for Black people that we're indoctrinated into from the moment we're born, and try to do that in a fun way that audiences could access.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us. It was so much fun
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
This was great.
I was born on the Outer Rim, a slave, forgotten. Somehow, the Empire is worse. Well, I won't stand for it anymore. It's time for me to do my part.
Welcome to the rebellion, Kitster. Sorry, what is this?
This is a handshake, right?
It's a handshake, yes. No. Like,
I just stop moving.
get the data to the console, slice the system, and shut down their shields.
That's on me.
I'm Kitster. I love you.
Wizard.
How? How?
High five.
You're watching the Star
Wars show.
That was something.
Should have called the movie Kitster, if you know what I mean.
Boo.
Well, Andy, another month down, another Star Wars show in the books.
Dude, what? Really? We didn't do any goofy goofs or have a celebrity pop in or some sort of work from home bit? Dude, I have animals that want to be seen on camera. I can go get them right now, Anthony.
I know, but I say enjoy the reprieve. Relax, go out to your backyard, enjoy the fresh air and the good feeling of completing yet another piece of content for the internet arm of the Star Wars company of entertainment-related products.
I mean, nothing puts a smile on my face quite like making more stellar content.
Remember to like the video, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.
I didn't get enough lines.
You had plenty of lines. You've had plenty of lines for the last, 5 years.